So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the day 3 training program of ours on MS Excel. I believe everybody settled down at their workplace and good to go. My audio is reaching. Can somebody gives me a heads up?
Yes, it is audible.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So before starting with day 3 program, any doubts or queries, anybody?
Not from me. Thank you. Not from me.
Okay.
Sir, leave more application-wise examples.
Sorry?
That's it. More application-wise examples for any particular formulas.
More application wise means could you please more elaborative on that?
For example, how can we use the one particular formula in more than one way?
See, from formulas so far, whatever we have discussed, we are giving the best things. Okay. The only thing is when you want to combine the logic, you have to combine the formula. That's it. So those things are going to come up even more. It is there for day 4. So the question is, I asked whatever things we have discussed in day 1, day 2. Is there any doubt or queries?
No, not from my side.
Okay. All right. So now today we are going to start with, as we discussed and decided as per the plan, we're going to do data summarization and analysis. So when you have a huge data or huge dump data from our SAP or ERP, we have downloaded how to deal with the same so that we can turn up some beautiful reports out of it. We are going to discuss. So go to our sample case studies folder. The file name is called data analysis. The file name data analysis. You can open that. So when you open data, you will be finding a data structure in this format. Okay. So let me take you through the data first. What we have, what is there we have over here, and what kind of need or what is the ask from the other side. We are going to discuss first, then we'll start working with it. So can I take a confirmation? Everybody has got the same worksheet open on the screen. File name is data analysis. There is only one sheet called summary table. So why for yes? Could you please confirm in the chat box? So I got 3 confirmation. Jay, Yash, and Rutuja. They have confirmed they have got the file open. How about the others people? File name data analysis, sheet name summary table. There is only one sheet available. Okay. Now we are going to discuss on this. So suppose I take an example. Morning 9 o'clock, I drop into office. My boss immediately called me. Pravas, please come to my cabin. I need to discuss something with you. So I went in and he told me immediately, because I was going through the reports, whatever the monthly reports we are submitting to the management, I was just going through that. And I found that there is no quality of information. It seems as if some ready-made numbers we have downloaded from SAP or ERP system, and we are just presenting those things to the management. So let us do something different this time. Let us give some qualitative report over there at the month end. Okay. So what he asked me, please get me entire last 3 years revenue data. So I gave my respective T codes in our SAP or ERP system. And I could generate the report and it comes near about 1 lakh records in this format. How many records? 1 lakh records. So when you look at this, what kind of data we have? Customer wise data is there. These are the products types we are manufacturing, the cars, and these are the car models or car makes names over here. Okay, so basically I would like to say in one line, we have taken a data of Tata Motors car plant. Okay, now these are the salesmen we have engaged to generate the revenue on behalf of the organization. Region, these are the different regions we have exported the products. Order date is nothing but the billing date or invoice date. Billing, the column that is what invoice amount, it is done by the US dollar. You can consider INR in lakhs also if you wish, not a problem. Year of incurrence of sale, month, quarter, and intermediary channel partner, if any, that name is also available. So it's a comprehensive data. It's a huge data over there right now in front of our screen. Now, when I showed all this data to my boss is saying, Pravas, this data is of no use for me. You keep it with you. What I want is out of this a simple summary. So whatever the products we have sold to our customers, based on the products, I want to see the last 3 years revenue data. So this is what my boss is asking me to deliver. So one thing we know now, we have a huge data and he's expecting a summary out of this. So he's expecting a tabular report out of this, something like that. Okay. So to summarize our data, we have a data summarizing tool called pivot table or pivot table. You can call anything, no problem. And we have been also working, some of you have already worked with pivot, I'm not denying. But the first thing is, what is the mistake we commit? We do not spend time in the data, directly we jump into the solution. So we are not going to commit that mistakes anymore. So the first thing is, whenever you happen to create a pivot out of any data, ensure that three rules are satisfied. What are those three rules? Rule number one, the data must contain a field header. So whatever the data you have captured, it must contain a field header. The column header, nothing but the field header. And the column names or the header names should not be duplicate. So first thing, column header to be there. Column header name cannot be duplicated. So suppose to take an example, I have got customer two columns I want to retain. You can name it as customer one, customer two. You cannot have the same name customer over there in both the column headers. Now, rule number two, the amount of data, whatever you have captured, ensure there is no single cell as blank cell. So there should not be any blank cell. But how to confirm there is a blank cell or not? I told you in day two, select your data, Control G, G for gamma, go to dialog box will appear. Option special. If you click blanks is there, you can select and click OK. So immediately you'll be finding a message, no cells were found. So please confirm all of you have got the same message. Selecting the data, Control G, special, blanks, click OK. You will be getting the message like this. So it is a self confirmation now. Our data is not containing any kind of blanks. Now, rule number three, you have to ensure that no column has the merged data. So in any of the column, merged cells should not be there. Because what is the habit we have? We select multiple cells, we merge them, we define a header. That is meant for display, not for the calculations. Because most of our Excel functionalities doesn't read our merged data. So it is always better, make a thumb rule, do not use or have any kind of merge cells, or better you avoid using the merged data. Okay, so basically in one line, if you want to say your data must be a flat data whenever you want to work with a pivot. Now, as I told you in day two, Whenever we download the data from SAP or ERP system, there are two columns where you'll be finding the trouble. What are they? Number column will not be in number format. Date column will not be in date format. So those things again we need to check and confirm. Then we can proceed further. So let us go to our date column. Order date. One column is there. Keep your cursor in the first date. Select the rest. Now the question. How to check my date is there in proper date format? I told you a keyboard shortcut in day one to convert any format to date format. What was that? Anybody?
Control 3.
No.
Control Shift 3.
Control Shift 3. That's the ideal combination. So when you go for it, just check, is your date format changing? So Control Shift 3 to convert any format to readable date format. It's changing. So it is a pretty confirmation for us. Our date is in proper date format. That's why these changes are happening. Now, coming to the number column, sales USD. Keep your cursor in the first value of sales USD. Select the rest. Then, how to check numbers are there in proper number format? To convert any format to number format, what was the keyboard shortcut? Day 1. This is what I was anticipating, the fear I had in the mind. If you do not practice, these things will be lacking with. I told you exclusively, this is the reason why. Day 1, day 2, whatever you are learning, day 3, day 4 application will be definitely there. Anyway, Control Shift 1. So when you go for Control Shift 1, able to see post decimal, two characters are available, before decimal, comma separators are there. Don't you think we have already discussed all these things in data presentation sheet? Right? So practice is very, very essential, people. You know where you stand today again. So don't miss that. Okay. Now, post decimal characters, whatever we have, it is containing the zeros. So that doesn't play any role. So let us remove the same. How to remove the zeros? You can go for decrease decimal from the home tab or the keyboard shortcut Alt H9 twice. You can go for it and get your results. No problem. Now, once you have the necessary checks, you can look at my screen, please, for a minute. Okay. There is another problem in our data. What is the problem? Can you read that? Yes, people. What's the problem? I have highlighted the things. Read and confirm what is the problem.
It's 3 Jan 14 and in month it's December.
So problem is with the month, correct? So technically, which is correct? If you look at which one seems to be correct. Definitely the date, isn't it? So date is the right one, but the month column is not extracted properly. So there the thing it has gone wrong. So how to rectify? So now the question is, we need to extract the month from a date. So what is the ideal formula helps us in extracting the month? Day 1 EDATE formula, if you remember. Next to that, what we did, after finding the date of expiry, we discussed how to extract date, how to extract month, how to extract year.
Text.
Very good. Text formula. So we'll go for in the month column, text formula equal to text. Value is our order date. Then comma. What do we want? Month. So month, how will you define? Within two double inverted quotes, M4 times. And once you do the same, bracket close, formula is ready. Now hit enter and application for the same for the entire column, you can go for this. So text formula is applied also, and month column is rectified. So kindly confirm so far whatever done, all good. So what we did, first the necessary rules to be satisfied. Second, the necessary columns to be compared with the standard format. Third, if at all any error is there, that also we have to rectify. So all these things we did. Our data is ready for next level. Now, once we do this over here, before creating a pivot table, kindly keep your cursor anywhere in the data, Control A, and convert your data into table. So we discussed in day 2 how to convert your data into table. Anybody?
Control T.
Very good. Control T, T for table, T for tango. So when you go for this kind of dialog box will appear, and the moment you go and hit enter, your data will be converted into table. So this is what our steps. First 2 to 5 minutes to spend time is very, very essential. Why? We come to know. Now, keeping your cursor anywhere in the data, go to insert. The very first option is there about your pivot table. You can also find that. Okay. But here, one thing I will suggest you, do not ever go for this navigation button to navigate all these options. Don't do this. This navigation options, don't go for it. Directly go to this option called icon, this pivot table icon you click. Don't navigate. So when you go and click this with immediate effect, it will take you to a dialog box like this. And there it is asking, choose where you want the pivot table report to be placed. New worksheet. Yes, that's better all the time. And anybody's option like add this data to this data model, is it on? Anybody's, just check it out. I'm highlighting. This checkbox is on for anyone? If it is off, well and good. That's what we are expecting. If it is on, in case by mistake or unwantedly, accidentally, that you have to deactivate. So I repeat, keeping the cursor anywhere in the data, going to insert, very first option, pivot table. No need to do any changes. Directly go and click OK. So you'll be finding a blank worksheet. It will be generated, and in the left side, you will be finding a box where your pivot table is going to get designed. And in this, one small box is there where name is also available. So this is called pivot table name. So it's a simple message for us. Whatever the pivot table we create, that will be having a unique name. Okay. And towards our right side, you could see there is a small box kind of structure which will be containing all the field headers. That is called field list box. And towards my right side, small boxes are there for numbers. This is called our field area. Now, what is that job we have? We have to take the necessary fields and drag and drop, drag and drop, and drag and drop. This is the only action we need to initiate. But before proceeding further and doing this operation, there is a problem you can notice. In my right side, whatever the pivot table field box is there, the layout is not matching with yours. So we have two different layouts. But if you see my layout, it is giving more space to work with, whereas not yours. So let us bring the equal formatting pattern or layout first. How to bring it? Just see. In the pivot table fields, there is a settings button is there. Settings button. If you click that, second option deals with fields section and area section side by side. Go for that. And then you will be having the similar layout just like me. So please confirm all of you have got the similar layout, whatever I'm showing on the right side.
Yes.
So this is just one-time task. You don't need to do it repeatedly all the time. This is now going forward. Whenever you open pivot, it will open with this layout only. Okay, now we know we need to drag and drop. Okay, I can drag a field, but where to drop? I have got four different choices. So here also you need to follow a rule. What is that rule says? Whichever the field contains the numerical value or numbers in place, you must drag it in the sigma value area. So why sigma value area? Because if you bring the numbers into this field, you can work out with your formula and function based calculations like sum, count, minimum, maximum, product, average, all these things. It's possible over here only. So as per the report, whatever my boss has asked me, product wise, last 3 years revenue data. So revenue data is my billing column. Billing column is sales USD. Is it containing numbers? Yes. What is the right field area to place with? Value. So let's go and take and drag and drop. So sales USD has been populated. Next, last 3 years revenue data. So we have a field called year. Let's take year to the columns. Now, why columns? Because if you take only columns, then 3 columns of 3 years data will be presented. Is it really mandatory? No. If you wish to bring the records to the rows, you can bring columns instead of that rows. So it is up to you. Now, why I preferred the column? Because I have got something else also to bring. What is that? My product description. So if I take my product description into rows, a beautiful report will be turned up. So this is called our first pivot table we have generated, we have created, and the total is of 3,199,99253. So please confirm all of you have got the same total. All right. Now, the first thing first. When you have a pivot table in place, friends, though the data is ready, but it is not ready for dispatch. Reason, as I have been telling you, the moment you go for day one, day two, what is the most of the time I emphasize upon? About the presentation part. Techniques, formula, functions, features, anybody can use. Only thing is, your presentation is going to make you different with your presentation style. So always give your time for your presentations too. That is also very, very essential. So now, when you have the pivot table in place, the look and feel is not so great. So what you can do, keeping the cursor anywhere in pivot, go to the design tab. In the extreme right, in the ribbon menu, design button is there. You can go for it. And there, many more styles are available. Go for the more button. And in this more button, when you click it, with immediate effect, it opens up with three broad categories. And that is what we have already seen in the format as table option itself in our day one, day two as well. And I told you which option we should take.
Light and medium.
Why not dark?
File size increases.
Very good. So we are going to take some medium category out of this, and the moment we click it, now the look and feel is somewhat looking great compared to the previous version.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, once we have done with this, the next thing is over here. Though we have made such a beautiful presentation, but this bolt, Genix Nano, Hexa, what are they? They are our products.
Product description.
But what is happening in the column header? If you see that, what it is showing? Row label. Similarly, 2014, 15, 16, what are they? These are our years, right? But it is showing column label. So this is what it has been gone wrong. So instead of year showing column labels. Instead of product description, it is showing row level. This is what always the default pattern of pivot. Can't help. But if I'm presenting as it is like this to my audience, if suppose a layman is sitting, how he's going to make out these are my products, or these are my accessories, or these are my inventory items? Nobody will be knowing. So this is the reason why the next thing is what you need to do. We need to bring the exact name to the field headers. But here our experts, they will suggest you, don't worry, Pravas, you can go for editing the fields manually and do the changes. Don't do that. For the time being, you will never find any kind of impact. But technically, what is going to happen tomorrow when you learn Excel VBA Macro and you have automated the report end to end, starting from data from Excel, SAP or ERP, when you extract the same thing, turn into your MIS report or a dashboard. If you have automated the entire stuff, the macro will stop since you are changing or you are editing the fields manually. So never ever change the field manually. Then how to get deal with the same? I'll tell you. Keeping the cursor anywhere in pivot, going to design, same in the extreme right. From the left, third option, report layout. In this report layout, we have an option, show in tabular form. So when you go for show in tabular form, immediately the set changes is going to happen. So whatever it was missing, you believe that now it is automatically turns up. Like if you go for year, it was there year, we got it. If you go to your product description over here, we got it. Product description. So these are the minimum formatting always you need to do. Now the next thing is, as I told you, whenever you are present.
Please repeat.
Yep.
So can you please repeat?
Yes, no problem. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Keeping the cursor in pivot anywhere, going to design from the left, third option, report layout, you have to go for show in tabular form.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Hope all of you are getting the same.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, once this is done, next, what we need to do, let's have a discussion. If you remember in day one, day two, also I was telling you, when you present your data as it is, nobody likes it. Audience is having a different level of expectation. So when you're presenting your data, make sure that your data is speaking a better story to the people. So what kind of story, how to organize that? Just see. In your grand total column, in any cell, keep your cursor in the grand total column. You keep your cursor in any cell, go for right click upon the same. You'll be finding an option called sort. So when you go for sort over here, always go for largest to smallest, depending upon the data. And the moment you see this, now what is the story we are getting? Whoever is watching our data, he can make out. From Indica, we have got the maximum revenue. From Jest, we have got the list revenue. Make sense? So this is how people we have made our first pivot table. So kindly rename the sheet as pivot 1. So any doubt, any queries in pivot 1 sheet? All right. Now, let us go and discuss what else we can do with regard to pivot table. So kindly do one thing. Go to our pivot table number one sheet tab, the sheet tab over here where the name is there. Right click upon the same. You have an option called move or copy. Then a dialog box appears where you will find create a copy checkbox is not activated. You can activate that. And the moment you click OK with immediate effect, you will be finding a clone of your pivot 1, a duplicate sheet of pivot 1 will be generated, and then just rename the same as pivot table number 2. All right, people. So everyone has got their pivot 2 ready.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any difficulties anybody is facing? All right. Now, once we have this in place, just focus on my screen. Please follow my audio. This is what I have presented to my boss. No doubt. My boss is watching the data and he's telling me, Prabhas, you have given me last 3 years revenue data in 3 columns and all the products in rows. So this is giving a complete picture and I'm able to analyze the data also properly. No problem. The pattern is really good. You have given me only last 3 years revenue. Okay, but I want to do some deep dive analysis on the same. I want to go for some macro level of analysis on the same. This is what my boss is asking. Well, what is the meaning by macro level of analysis? What is the meaning by deep dive analysis? So we have given year-wise data. So what is the maximum you can do if you want to go for in-depth analysis? We can do month-wise comparison also, right? So that is what he is expecting from us. So let's go and define that. First of all, we need to check, do we have a field called month? Yes, we do have. Now, what I need to do, I have to take it to the row area. So when you bring this year into the month into the rows, you can see a structure of our pivot table is changing. Yes. So whenever you are creating the pivot table and presenting it, each and every pivot table, they have their own unique story. So here, when I took rows over here, what it happens, what kind of report it is generating? Let's go and discuss. Okay. Boss asked me 3 years data. Is it there? Of course, yes, it's available. Then his demand was month-wise data. Is it there? Yes, that's also available. But if you look at overall larger picture, this pivot table, what kind of story this is giving? Though all this information is there over here, whatever my boss was expecting, but the thing is, my product description is still playing a primary role. So the report is giving emphasis more into the product description, not in the month. 3 years data is there, revenue data is there, but revenue data is speaking the story of product description, not the month. So month has become secondary, product description has become primary, and my boss has never emphasized upon the product description, isn't it? So in this case, how to manage the show? I'll tell you. No need to be panic. Just go to your row area. What is the first field we have? Product description. That you hold it, put it below to the month. Interchange the fields, switch the fields in this format. Now see, the pivot has got a different story over here. So now 3 years revenue data, and with regard to month wise, if you want to see the product over here, this is there. So please confirm everybody has got the similar structure on their respective screens.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, suppose say this is what our friend Yash has presented to Jay. Jay is watching the data. Now his focus has gone to the data points. Where he is watching, there are so many cells having the blank cells. You can also see. Is it there? So many cells, blank cells. So Jay has a question now that Yash, why there are so many blanks? So Yash, what's your reply?
Because we don't have any sale during that particular year
Simple.
for that particular product description.
Will definitely. So 2014, during the month of January, with regard to Jest, we have never raised a single invoice, or we have never sold any of the Jest vehicle to any of the customers or dealers, whoever XYZ. So when there is no data, it's a simple message for us. It's not necessary or mandatory that in each and every cell of the pivot table should be value, right? But this is what, who knows, who has understood? Yes, because he's working in the data. But whomever he is sending the file, they will be having definitely the similar questions that Yash, why there are so many blanks? And Yash has to keep explaining the same time and again to those people whomever he has sent. Now, whose premium time is being wasted when you are just presenting the same story again and again? You'll get frustrated, you'll get bored, and time is being wasted. So, whose premium time is being wasted, Yash? But who is held responsible for that?
Me.
Why?
I should have presented it in a better way.
Right. So what is the bottom line from the entire discussion? That whenever you are presenting your pivot table report, you should do the right treatment with the blank cells. You should replace the same with some kind of predefined text, zero, hyphen, nil, not available, not applicable. Then only you can stop people asking unwanted questions. But how to do that? Let's go for it. People here, they will tell you different stories. I'll tell you a very simple way how to do it. Any point in time, go for right click on pivot. Okay, and there from the bottom, second option, pivot table options, and here a dialog box appears. You can notice we have a very beautiful option called for empty cell show. One box is there. For empty cell show, a box is there. In that box, whatever you want you can type. Zero, hyphen, nil, not available, not applicable, but I would suggest go for zero since we are dealing with numbers. And the moment you click OK, see the beauty? With immediate effect, all the blank cells will be replaced with your zero text. So please confirm all of you are getting that. Now,
Sir.
yes, yes, right click anywhere in the pivot. From the bottom, second one, pivot table options. And then you have to go to this pivot table options. And therefore, empty cell show in this box, you have to type the text, whatever. But I would say ideally go for zero since we are dealing with the numbers. Right. Now, once it is done, Then our friend Jay's focus has gone to the data. So when he's just analyzing the data one by one and he's reaching to the product name called Tiago, he's unable to make out which month that product is pertaining to because that cell is blank. So he's expecting now from our friend Yash that he has to prepare a report in such a way, whichever the product, suppose Jay he is looking at, immediately it should reflect the answer for which month that product is, so that he will be able to analyze that. So in that case, in one line, if you want to say, in our month column, some regular interval blank cells are there. Those blank cells are to be replaced with the previous month name. Okay, so those things we have done in our data fill, day two, if you remember the technique. But here it is no more required. It's so easy over there in pivot. See how? Keeping the cursor anywhere in pivot, if you go to design tab, and there we have an option. Same report layout, only also we have used once. From left side, third tab, and then repeat all item labels. Able to see? Repeat all item labels. If you click that, with immediate effect, your month column will be populated with the respective month names. So this is how people we have understood that whenever there is need to how to work with more than one field in the pivot table and how to interchange the fields based on the need and how to populate these field names whichever it appears over there in the pivot and filling the same over there with the results. That is called repeat all data item labels. So that's the story of our pivot 2. Any doubt, any queries? Now, let us do one thing. Right click on pivot 2 sheet name and then move or copy. Create a copy checkbox you can activate and click OK. So one more pivot is generating. Please rename the same as pivot table number 3. Now, once we have done with this, let's go and discuss what else we can do with regard to pivot. Now, suppose say this is what our friend Yash has presented to Jay. Jay is watching the data. Last 3 years revenue data is there. Month column is also available. And he is able to analyze the report. So he's quite happy. The pattern, whatever it is created by our friend, Mr. Yash, Jay is looking at the same and is quite happy. And he's telling now that, Yash, I am done with the product. Let the pattern be same, but I want to see, instead of product, I want to see the customer wise data or the dealers wise data over here. Well, so I'll keep my cursor. What is unwanted? The unwanted things is over here, product description. And what is that Jay is looking for is customer. So bring customer to the row area. And with immediate effect, the pivot table structure changes. Now, in this format, suppose say, if you look at on your screen also, who is our first customer? Is there?
along with the automobiles.
Right. Now, when Jay is watching the data, he could notice that along with automobiles over here, 2014, January. No business. February 2014, some business is there. Good sign. March, no sign at all. April, we no business again. May, we have got something. No, again. So like this, when our friend Jay wants to analyze the data of one particular customer for the whole month, he has to scroll down 12 times, right? And that is what he's not comfortable doing the same. Okay. So what now Jay is expecting from Yash is saying, yes, this is okay, whatever the data you have given, but it is not giving a comfort zone to work with. Why don't you do something with the report that when I open the file, it should give me the entire information. I should not navigate, I should not move around, I should not scroll much over here. Now, if that is the case, how to present our report? Let's have a look. 1 minute, just watch my screen. So in our row area, month is there. Okay, I will take that to the columns. Now you could see all the customer names at once in one column. But imagine how many columns you have landed up with. We have gone to near about total number of columns 41. Now suppose say my boss has not seen and he asked me, Pravas, while coming to my cabin, get me one printout. So now how will I take a printout of this? Okay, is it possible? Even though I try hard, make it to get to fit page and all those things, the font size will not be in a readable format. So that doesn't make any sense, right? So now, how to make a precise presentation? I'm going to take you through. Just have a look. In my column B, I have got a cell called 2014 year. Yes, it is there. I'll go for right click upon the same. Yes, I have gone. There's an option called expand and collapse. Yes, we do have expand and collapse. And there's an option over here inside naming called collapse entire field and see the beautiful transformation of your data. The entire 3 years data, which is showing in 36 columns, now immediately it has cleansed to just 3 columns. And it is creating a radio button in the left. That plus symbol is nothing but radio button. Okay. Now, any point of time, suppose our friend Jay asked to Yash, Yash, could you please show us 2016 data? So Yash has to just click on that plus symbol, the radio button. Only 2016 data alone will be expanded. Okay. So no unwanted data we are showing. Excuse me. No unwanted questions going to be asked. And once your presentation is over, again go back to that radio button and clinch your data. So this is how people we have understood whenever there is a need a huge data to be captured or to be sent it across, then make a precise presentation like this and people would be definitely happy. So please confirm you got a clarity on pivot 3 and everybody is successfully able to populate the data in this first in this format.
Yes.
Now, so Vijay and Jay they have confirmed people. Anybody is facing any trouble? Do ask me. Can we go further? All right. Now, right click on pivot 3 sheet name, move or copy, create a copy checkbox you can activate and click OK. So one more pivot turns up, you can rename the same as pivot table number 4. So pivot 4 is ready.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, the moment we go for pivot table number 4, what we did exactly, this expand and collapse button, it is one of the feature of pivot table. Anybody can use that. There is nothing something called rocket science that we only know and nobody knows except us. So now the question is how to make our presentation different from others. Yes, people, now you are ready to answer because you have attended day 1, day 2, now you're on day 3. So what can be done? What kind of improvements you can do or how to make our presentation different from others? Whatever it comes to your mind, feel free to share. No idea? Day 2, we discussed something, right? Regarding the data visualization. What are the types of visualization we have learned? Can somebody recall that?
Table sorting.
No, no. Data visualization I'm talking about.
Icon sets.
That's a good one. Icon sets. What are the other types? Do you
Data
remember?
bars.
Very good. Data bars. What is the other one?
Maybe a pie chart showing the share of all the
Pie chart. We
partners.
never discussed about charts and all so far.
Sparkline.
Sparkline. That's what we discussed. As I told you, what we have learned out of that only, I'm expecting. I'm not asking something new you to do over here. What I have not taught you, how can I expect from that? So all these things we learned, isn't it? So this is the place where we are going to make it different by adding all these things. So what would be the ideal option? Taking that call also very, very important. So we have got 3 different types of visuals. Now, which visuals I am supposed to add and which place I am supposed to add?
Icon sets in the values.
Icon sets in the values. Okay. I will go for this home, conditional formatting, icon sets I have added. So how this is going to play a role, what kind of information you are going to achieve out of this, or what kind of message you are going to convey to the audience. So that is what, friends, very, very important. That comes out of your practice. That's the reason why I told you practice well. Understand the concept. This is where people are lacking with. People know there is a feature already available. So this is not something new or this time in Office 365 or 2020 when it has come. Since 2007 version of Microsoft Excel, this feature is available, but I hardly people see using this. Anyway, that's not a problem. So you can develop that things in the practice. I will tell you now what would be the ideal option over here. So 1 minute, just watch my screen carefully, observe it, understand. Then next 1 minute, I'll be giving time to work out. Don't worry. So first of all, I will go and create a column naming called visual. Okay. To give a feel as if this is the property of pivot table, I'll be applying with the similar formatting. Okay. I will go to my first customer. Who is that? Alhamid Automobiles. I have taken the last 3 years data only, not the grand total, only last 3 years data. Then I will go to insert. There is an option about sparklines we discussed the other day called columns. Able to recall? The columns one we have already discussed, right? So now I'm going to take you through the line one. So when I took this line, this demands me, where is the data? Data is already selected. What is the location? Visual column for cell. Procedures remains the same. Now, when I go and click OK, it gives me more or less kind of a line graph over there in the cell. Now, the same thing I'm going to apply for the rest of my customers. And when I apply this, there is a tab extreme right, either Sparkline, Design, Tools, Options, depending upon the version, this will be activated. And in this tab, if you see, there's an option called markers available. If I go to markers and see the beauty, a beautiful report turns up. People will love to see this and this because people don't have time to read your boring numbers and interpret or make out the story. So, what is the message people are going to get? Alhamid Automobiles, if you see, they are maintaining the consistency compared to last year. This year, volume is also almost same. But Arya Motors, it is showing the consistent growth. That's a good sign. Bavaria Motors, it is going drastically going down. Serious issue. It's a high alarming factor. We need to check out with Bavaria Motors. Why? What happened? What is the thing that has gone wrong? Similarly, Dalma Motors also, what is happening compared to last year? Gradually, it is in declining or it is decreasing trend. So we have to work out on that. And if you see, Gurudev Motors, Kunoj, and Lexus Motors, they are having the consistent growth. It's a good sign from the company perspective. So, like that, people would like to make an interpretation, and your visuals is definitely giving a instant information to the people. So, don't you think that this kind of value addition we can do? What say? Make sense? Adding more value, right, people? So, please go and give it a try. Any difficulties, do let me know. Or anybody needs my support, please ask. So is it working for everyone? Any questions from anybody in pivot 4 what we did? Anybody needs my support?
All good. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, friends, can I take that? Everybody's clear with our pivot table number 4, what kind of value addition, how this visual is playing a role in our pivot.
Yes, sir.
Right. Now let us do one thing. Right click on pivot 4, sheet name, move or copy, create a copy, checkbox you can activate and click OK. So what will be happening over here? One more pivot table turns up. Okay. And there, this visual column is not playing any role. That you can deactivate. Just select like this, delete it. There is nothing to deactivate because this is not a property of pivot. This is just a ready-made column we have created. So since we have created manually, in similar fashion, we can delete also. Now, go to the unwanted columns to delete it, like customer, you can remove month, you can remove product description, you can bring to rows. The first pivot table, whatever we had created, bring to the same, nothing else. Now, let's have a discussion what else we can do with regard to pivot table. So please stay focused with the requirement now. Suppose say this is what I have prepared the presentation and I have made it. I have sent it across to the next level. My boss is watching the data and he's telling me, Ross, you have given me last 3 years data, revenue data. That's fine. But I want to know to generate this much of revenue, how much incentives we have paid. So this is what my boss is asking. So in one line, if you want to say, my boss wants to compare the data revenue versus incentive. But the first thing first, we need to check. Do we have a field called incentive? Excuse me. So do we have a field called incentive, people? Check it out.
No. No.
So our problem starts there. Now, incentive we do not have. Okay, keep that things on hold. Now suppose say in our organizations we have a uniform policy that whatever the billing we make, we declare 2% as incentive. Though the salesman, they are working in north, south, east, or western or central zone, whichever the zone they are working with, respective that uniform policy, whatever the billing the person is going to make, he will be entitled for 2% incentive. Okay. So problem one, we do not have the data, but we know how to compute it. If that is the scenario, how to bring this incentive column in pivot. So when we do not have the data, we have always an option on to create a data, right? So how to create the data? Go to our summary table, the source data sheet. What is the last column we have? We have got our channel partners. Then keep the cursor next to that and type incentive. And the moment you hit enter, can you see the similar formatting comes up? And how it is happening?
To table design.
Exactly. Now the formula equal to 2% of the billing column. Billing column is sales USD. So equal to sales USD multiply 2%. And the moment you hit enter, what happens? It is not only applying to a cell, but also the entire column instantly. And again, one more advantage of format as table option. So now you have understood why I asked you to go for converting the data into table. So further course of action, any addition of the columns or rows of data, if it is there, you don't need to struggle much. Similar formatting will be applied. So all these things we did in our summary table, source data. Now come back to pivot. Do you see a data called incentive below to channel partners? No. So how to bring it? Simple. Right click anywhere in the pivot. We have an option called refresh. And when you go for this, with immediate effect, you will be finding incentive column will be ready below to channel partners. Incentive, what kind of or what type of data it is holding? Is it numbers or numerical value? And we discussed if it is contain the numbers, what is the ideal field area? Going to values. So please bring the same two values and see the beautiful report is ready. So you have not only one column called total incentive, along with that, year-wise, how much incentives you have paid, that thing's also ready in front of the screen. So this is how people we have understood whenever there is a need, how to create a new column in the source data and bringing the same in pivot on a simple right-click refresh. So in a simple right-click refresh, how a new column is being added because of format as table. If you are not converted table, then you should have updated one more option. What is that? Going to analyze, change data source. Again, you have to extend the column range to the new column, and then you should have clicked OK. That's long process again. So since we have converted into table, a simple right click also refresh option works like a charm. So this is the story of our pivot table number 5. Check it out, people. All of you have got the incentive. Any doubt, any queries?
Incentive formula.
Incentive formula, billing column multiply by 2%. That is G5 cell you select, it will take automatically this kind of format. That has to be multiplied by 2%. Is it done?
Yes, sir.
Right. So let us do one thing. What else we can do with pivot? Let's discuss. So please keep your cursor in the sheet tab, sheet pivot table number 5. Right click upon the same. Move or copy. Create a copy checkbox you can activate and click OK. So a new pivot turns up. So incentive work is over. You can remove the same, deactivate the same. So don't worry, incentive is your real field. It will be always there, though you have deactivated. Whenever you want, again, you can bring it back and simply drag and drop. Not a problem. So now we'll see what else we can do with regard to pivot. Now suppose say this is what I have presented to my boss. My boss is watching the data. Last 3 years revenue is prepared and presented. He's quite happy. Incentive also we have calculated. He's able to analyze. Now he's telling me, Prabhas, I'm done with incentive. I just want to see, while making this much of billing, while raising all these invoices, how much discounts we have given to our customers. I want to see that. So the boss wants to see invoice amount versus discount amount. Well, so first thing first, do we have a field called discount? Check it out, please.
No.
So our problem starts again. Like suppose I take an example, like incentive, we have got a uniform policy for discounts also. Like any customer, whoever is purchasing from us, though they are purchasing with bulk quantity or small quantity, not an issue. Irrespective of any quantities, they will be entitled for 5% discount. Suppose say it is there. Then how to create a column called discount in pivot? We do not have the data, but we know how to compute it. If that is the scenario, how to create it? Yes, people, what happened today? Our batch is completely seeming no energy. Only two, three people, they are just responding. How about the others? Are you getting it? Because I'm not sure about it. Any problem? Please bring it to my notice. I could help you out. Sridhar, Nitisha. Okay. If there is no problem, then fine, well and good. If you are following all these things, I am also happy. So Vijay, everything is clear?
No, I am
Sridhar, I'm unable to hear. I'm really sorry. I'm struggling to hear you. Could you please be louder?
Okay. Uh, Now it's audible?
Yeah,
Hello?
yeah, I can hear that.
My incentive column is not reflecting in a pivot table and sharing my screen.
Okay, please do that. No problem. Okay, Vijay, no problem. If it is a mic issue, you can respond to my chat query boxes also. I can read that, no issue. If you're following, that's my concern is if people are following or not. Okay. So the reason why it is not appearing, Mr. Sridhar, is you forgotten to do the table format. Okay. So later you do it. Fine. Okay. It is reflecting 1228. Fine. No problem. Go to the pivot. Let's see. Go to the pivot.
Here it's not showing here.
Right. You go
I
for
have refreshed it,
right click refresh.
still it's not showing.
Okay. Now my question over here is, when did you convert into table? The moment we started the pivot table or later you did it?
Later,
That is the trouble. So now what you need to do is you have to go to analyze. Keeping the cursor in pivot anywhere, you have to analyze. In the menu option, analyze is there, design, analyze. In the right side, in the right side. No, not here. In the ribbon menu, in the menu commands, home, insert, page layout, all these things are there. No, in the same line
yeah,
only, analyze.
analyze.
Yes, go for it.
Analyze and refresh.
No, 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 no. Change data source. Next option. Next option. Next to refresh, change data source is there. You got to go there. Yeah. Click on that. If you click, it will take you to your summary table data sheet. What is that new column you have right now?
The incentives.
No, no, hold on, hold on. Huh. That is not appearing in the table. If you look at, if you take the scroll towards right, still take
Yeah,
towards,
yeah.
it is up to column L. So in the range
Yeah.
box where K is there you click in the range box, table range one box is showing the range, no?
Yeah.
In that where K is there, that alone you change it to L. Yes. Now click OK. Now
Yeah.
incentives come, that you bring it to value area.
Yes.
No, you bring it to value area. That incentive field you have to drag and drop it in the value field area. Yes. Then you'll be getting the result. All right. Fine then. So I'm taking the control. Yeah, welcome. So I'm taking the control back in the screen. So considering that all are in equal page, so now we are going to discuss how to get that discount field over here. We were having that discussion, right? So can somebody guide me how to get that? No need to do anything, just guide me.
By multiplying the sales with 5%.
So the way we have done the incentive, the similar fashion, we could bring out discount also. Can I take it in one line? Right, people? If I want to come to the bottom line, the way we have created incentive, the similar fashion, we could create the discount also. Can I take that?
Yes.
Right. Now let us analyze the same situation. No need to do anything, no need to create anything, just analyze the situation. If I need one incentive, then I had gone to my source data, created a column, applied the formula, and then once I applied, coming back to pivot, I did a right click refresh. Once I got that field populated in the value field list area, then we could bring our incentive over here. So entire task, if you recall, roughly how much time we have spent? 2 to 5 minutes. Do you agree?
Yes.
So one end, our 2 to 5 minutes of quality time is being spent. Yes, waste of time. Yes, it is a waste of time. Second thing, besides that, what is happening when you go back to your source data, create a new column and applying the formula, do you imagine your file size is also getting heavy? File size is also increasing. Can you mind that?
Yes.
So having said all these things, what we did, our experts, they do suggest us to do the job like this, but Excel never recommends for that. Reasons I told you. So now the question is, if I need to create a discount column in my pivot without going to our source data sheet, creating a data, how to create the discount field in pivot itself? That is the question. So what we can do, keep the cursor in grand total. Please start working with me. Then we have analyze or pivot table analyze depending upon the version of Excel. There is an option in the calculations group. Option name is called fields, items, and sets. I repeat, keep your cursor in the grand total. Go to analyze or pivot table analyze depending upon the version of Excel. Fields, items, and sets, you can see if it is directly visible. Else, you can find the same in the calculations group. And there, if you go for it, there is an option called calculated field. Right? So first thing, keep your cursor in grand total. Then going to pivot table analyze, calculations group, fields, items, and sets, calculate field. And when you go for this, what is going to happen? It will take you to a dialog box naming called calculate field. It will appear. There. What you need to do is the first field name. It is asking the first criteria field name. So the new field, new column, what you are going to customize, what should be the name? Name should be discount. So we'll go and define the name called discount. Then coming to the next is the formula bar. Delete whatever it is there because we are going to customize our own formula. So please make this formula column completely blank. And now recall, what would be the formula for discount calculation? It is nothing but the billing amount multiplied by 5%, correct? So billing amount, sales USD, is it there in the field list box? Yes, it is there. Double click upon the same, it will immediately bring the data to the formula box. Yes, multiply 5%, got the things ready. So what we did over here, first we have got this insert calculate field, then we have defined the name called discount, then in the formula bar sales USD double click, then percent 5% multiplied we have done, then finally clicking OK. And once you do the same and click OK, with immediate effect you will be finding our pivot table will be containing one more field naming called discount. Okay, so not only it is carrying a consolidated discount but also the year wise discounts is there. So that's what the beauty over here. Whenever there is a need, you don't need to go back to the source data to create some data. You can always take the help of this option, calculate field, and the beauty is automatically it goes to the value area. I don't need to go and do the action separately to do this. It automatically recognizes the columns. And like this, you can create n number of virtual fields or calculate fields. There is no limitations of that. So incentive is your field, discount is your virtual field, and going forward, this is going to be the property of your field. Okay. So pivot 6, how to compute this discount column. Oh, we got the same, all of you. Any doubt, any queries?
So one question.
Please ask.
Now sometimes it may happen that multiple people are using the data. So how can I differentiate that which is a virtual field and which is the actual field? I mean, one of obvious thing would be that I go back to the source data and I'll understand. But is there any other way to find out?
It's the same way, the way you have gone and explored the feature of our calculated field. You can keep your cursor in any pivot table, go to pivot table, analyze. There you go for fields, items, and sets, and calculate field. There is a drop down appears over here. If you go for it, whatever the virtual fields, it will be listed in this.
Action.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Welcome. You asked a good question. I'm glad. But what you have understood out of this?
I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
I am glad you asked
Like
this.
what have I understood?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked this. That way to identify which is my virtual field, which is my calculate field. One way we can go back to the source data and check it out. But that will be a tedious process.
Yeah.
There might be 70 to 80 fields. I cannot go and check all the field headers. It's very difficult. So I gave you
Right,
this.
right.
I gave you the solution. You can go back to the calculate field and the similar fashion. You can check it out.
Yes,
So
sir.
from this entire
That is
exercise,
easier.
yeah, from this entire exercise, what is the other things you have understood?
Well, I've understood almost everything. I've been present full time.
Okay,
It's just that I'm on my phone, so I'm not practicing. But yeah,
no
I've
problem,
understood almost everything.
no problem.
Uh, Everything in the pivot so far.
Right. So there is one more takeaway from this. You could have asked me the question. It's for everyone, not only uh, to you. The question you should have asked me, Prabhas, if at all, while doing this procedure, I have committed some mistake. Instead of 5%, I took 10%. Or later, there is a change in the discount percentage by the management. Could be the case. Then how to rectify my pivot table values? Do I need to recreate the same process, or do I need to delete this calculate field, or is there any other way I can edit this calculate field? That should have been your question. So if
I
that is
was
the case,
assuming I'll just edit it.
right. So
Sorry.
if that is the case, then the similar procedure you have to update to edit or modify or to delete also. Like keeping the cursor anywhere in the pivot, going to analyze or pivot table analyze, same fields, items and sets, calculated field. Now, whichever the field you want to edit, you have to select from that drop down. And if you want to edit, select and edit. If you do not want to edit, you want to delete, there is a delete button also available. Okay. So hope everyone is clear, people, what we are discussing. Helpful? Makes sense?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Right. Welcome. So one more thing, what you have understood from pivot 6. See, the questions has got its own importance. That's why I keep asking this. I gave you the exercise. I told you why we have done this exercise, what we have got out of that. Now, along with this, some other information also we have received out of this. So, what you have understood. Anybody, whatever you feel, you can share. What is the takeaway from pivot table number 6? Yes, yes. Jay?
So for me,
Mhm.
we have an option called field items and sets, which can be used to derive a new column altogether.
Mhm.
No need to go to the base sheet and do the formulas.
Okay, fine. Jay?
I'm not really sure, sir.
Okay, good. I appreciate the honest answer. The simple thing is, what we did for pivot table number 5, we could have done the similar fashion what we did in pivot 6. So incentive column could have been calculated like this, correct? Do you agree with me, people?
That's right.
Yeah. So
Yes.
that is what the takeaway from pivot table number 6. That all the time you no need to go back to the source data to create it because people does that. Impact I told you. So you have to be very careful for this. All right. So understanding pivot table number 6 over here, let's do one thing. Right click on pivot 6 sheet tab, move or copy, create a copy checkbox you can activate, and then click OK. So one more pivot turns up. You can rename the same as pivot table number 7. Okay. So in discount work is over. You can deactivate discount also. Now, what else we can do with regard to pivot? We are going to discuss. Now, stay focused. What I'm saying. Suppose say this is what the data I have presented to my boss. Okay. My boss is looking at the data and he's appreciating my work. He's telling Prabhas, this pattern is really good. What is that? Last 3 years revenue data, 3 years, 3 columns, and the products you have given me in the rows. It is really giving me a lot of information, able to analyze, and the pattern I like the most. But you have given me only one pivot table. Okay. What I want is in this pivot table, I want the similar layout, similar pattern, but I want to see multiple pivot tables. That too based on the salesman. So basically in one line, if you want to say, my boss is not happy with one pivot table. He's expecting multiple pivot tables based on the salesman with the similar layout, similar pattern. So how will I create that? How will I deliver it? So first thing first, do we have a field called salesman or salesperson or sales agents?
Yes.
So we have a field, no problem, we are saved. Now, here, no need to do anything. I am working on behalf of all. Please stay focused on my screen. Salesperson, I took it to the row area. Pattern is disturbed. Boss is not happy. Salesperson, I took it to the column area. Pattern is there, but salesman details are not available. So that doesn't make any sense. Then I took salesperson to the filter area. What happens? Patterns remains the same, whatever he was expecting. And above to the pivot area, you could see a salesperson field is also inserted. So I'm glad I got it. Now what I did, I have gone to my boss, I have showed this presentation and I asked him, you are looking for multiple pivot tables, no problem. You can go to this filter button, select SM1, click OK. Now this entire data is pertaining to salesman 1. Only thing is you have to insert a new worksheet. You have to select this pivot table, copy this, and you have to paste it. And this is what the action you have to repeat it for number of times depending upon the number of salesmen. This is what something I have instructed to my boss. What would be the reaction? Is my boss going to be happy? Vijay saying no. What would be the reaction? Yash, what do you believe? If you say to your boss like this, how he is going to react?
I'm not really sure.
Okay, no problem. Jay, any idea?
They won't be happy for sure.
But what would be the reaction? Okay,
Disappointment.
okay, definitely. Fine then.
Disappointment.
Yes, I will tell. Since he is my boss, I know him very better, right? So I know what kind of reaction is going to receive. So suppose I take an example. I did like this. Nothing intentional, nothing deliberately. I did it out of the curiosity. I found the answer, whatever the questions he asked me, and I explained all these things. My boss listened the whole story. Then once I'm done, he just looked at my data, he looked at me, and he gave a plastic smile. You know, plastic smile, the smile which is not natural and quite common in corporate world. You'll be finding the same. People are very good at that. So what he said, he told me, Prabhas, I'm really impressed with your smartness. The way you have diverted the entire responsibility to me, I like that. Now let's do one thing. If I am going to do your work tomorrow morning when you come to office, please bring your resignation letter with you. I would be happy to sign on that. So this is the kind of reaction he gave me. So what you have understood from the entire story, we cannot divert our responsibilities towards our superiors. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
So here, now the question is, what he is expecting from me, what kind of work I need to deliver, we need to have a clarity. No need to do anything. Just watch my screen for a while. Understand the plane of the work. Say, I am working with a global report. 200 salesmen we are dealing with. What my boss is expecting from me is job number one. He is expecting first I should go and insert worksheets. How many people? 200. So 200 sheets. Job number two, I need to copy this pivot table and paste it for 200 times. Job number three, I should go for selecting filter with the salesman name that to 200 times. So total 600. That is also not enough for my boss. Finally, he's also expecting that I should go and rename worksheets with the salesman name that to 200 times. So total, how much task? 800. How long it will be taking for you? Jay, if you were in my place, what would be your rough estimate answer?
2 3 hours.
2 3 hours. If you could do it, I will be immediately giving you a cash prize of 5,000.
I say minimum.
Okay, maximum is there, infinite, huh? Well, so if I take a estimated timeline, it is required at least a day, 7 to 8 hours. Considering all the rest of the tasks, whatever we have, we can complete it by 7 to 8 hours, minimum required. Okay. So here, when I said that my boss doesn't have the patience to wait for that much time, this is one. Second thing is, even though he has allotted me because he has no other option left, but can I deliver in 8 hours? That is the biggest question mark. No, because the other problems we cannot ignore it. Having 200 worksheets in one Excel file, system doesn't support, isn't it? Excel not responding. Excel stopped working. Excel is restarted. Screen is grayed out. Windows is hanged. All these problems, you cannot ignore it. This is also there. So when I could not deliver it within the stipulated time, my boss is definitely going to make a negative remarks in my KRA report. And if my KRA report is negative, this is going to give an impact in my appraisal system. Do you agree? Complete chain reaction. And this happens. This happens in the corporate world. Now just imagine that entire 8 to 10 hours of job, if I could make it happen for you just in 10 seconds. Yes, in 10 seconds. Will you be able to save a lot of time? Obviously, a lot. So let's see now. The objective is whenever we have a pivot report, how to export the pivot report into multiple reports on a click up button. So the first thing first, bring salesperson to the filter area because my boss is looking at salesman wise report, right? So bring salespersons to the filter area. This is the first thing. Then go to your pivot table area. Salesperson one filter is added, naming in the B1 or something will be there, B2, depends. So one filter field is added, salesperson, right? So select that cell. Don't click on the filter. No need to go for right click also. Just select that filtered cell. That is B1. And if you go to your analyze or pivot table analyze, okay, the very first option from the left, it deals with your pivot table name. Don't click anywhere. Just watch. Is it showing pivot table name? Yes. Below to that, there is an options tab. Don't click options 2. Don't click options 2. Just next to option, there is a small navigation button is there. That button you click. And here you will be finding three options are generating. Options, show report filter pages, generate get pivot data. So go for show report filter pages. And the moment you go for this with immediate effect, you will be finding a dialog box appears where the salesperson field is showing details. Yes. And my boss is also looking for salesman wise data. Perfectly matching. Yes. Now click OK. With immediate effect, you will be finding over here same pivot table layout, no problem. Filter is already selected with the salesman name and the sheets are also renamed with the salesman name. Multiple reports is generated. Can you see the beauty? So this is called the life savior option of our pivot table. And trust me, I have seen literally people sitting and doing the copy paste work at the year end since they did not know this feature. But see the beauty. Any point of time, department wise report, cost center wise report, or customer wise data, vendor wise information, anything you want, you could generate like this. And you can send it across to the respective people, the individual reports to them. Helpful, save a lot of time, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is how we have understood from pivot table number 7 how to export our pivot table data into multiple reports on a click of button and where it is available. So the first thing, you have to take the respective field to the filter area. That is most important. Then you should go for options, show report filter pages. So this is what the first thing we did it. Then we have gone to pivot table analyze. Then pivot table name, options tab over here, and show report filter pages. So can I take that everybody is clear with our pivot table number 7?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, right click on pivot table number 7, that is the sheet tab. Move or copy. Create a copy checkbox you can activate and click OK. So one more pivot generates. You can rename the same as pivot table number 8. And salesperson work is over. You can deactivate that field. Now we'll see what else we can do with regard to pivot. Sometimes what it happens, friends, we have to deal with the date related fields in pivot, like our PO date, work order date, invoice date over there, right? So if that is the case, then how to present those data effectively? So let's first go and bring that data into here. So please remove product description and please remove year also. So have only one field called sales USD in the value field area. Then just above to that, we have a order date. So that order date, you bring it to the row area. So when you bring it to the row area, if you are in 2016, 2019, Office 365 or 2021, you will be getting your result in pivot like this. It takes automatical the group or transfusion of the data like this. But in 2013 and above, or 2013 and prior to that, if you are there, then how it will be? It will be showing the individual records. So no need to be panic. What you can do is those who are having the structure just like me, take your mouse pointer to any of the year, right click upon the same. You have an option called ungroup. And if you click this ungroup button, automatically only two columns will be appearing date wise, whatever the revenue records will be there. And same thing you will be having in 2013 also. So please confirm all of you are getting the similar fashion, date wise records available. Now, once you have the same, keep your cursor in any of the date, right click upon the same, keep your cursor any of the date, right click upon the same. You have an option called group. Just above to ungroup, group is there. So when you go for the group, you will be finding a grouping dialog box will be appearing on the screen where you could see the first invoice date and the last invoice date is displaying on the screen. All right. Below to that, there is a category called months already in selection. So along with the months, I want to see the result of quarters. I don't want quarters. Fine. I want to see years. Yes, I can select years. So month and years alone is in selection. Let it be both the things. Now click OK and see the beautiful things over here. The report how is transformed. One column having the year, the other column immediately the month-wise data. Right? Now, when I presented the same to my boss is saying, Prabhas, this is okay. Month-wise data I could see, but I want to see one more hierarchy. Like along with the month, in that month, whatever the date-wise records also I want to see. So basically, boss wants to see year-wise, month-wise, and day-wise records. So three hierarchy levels he wants to see the report. Okay. Now, what you can do, keep your cursor in any of the year, right click, ungroup, that is there already we have seen. Above to that group is there, click the group button. Then same grouping dialog box appears where you will be finding already month and years is in selection. No need to change that. But above to the months, you can see a days option is also there, that also you can select. So when you select the days and click OK, with immediate effect, you will be finding one more hierarchy of the report is ready. So year-wise, month-wise, date-wise records. So any point of time, any report they want to see or any audience is watching that, they will be definitely happy watching the same. So this is how any point of time, date-wise records to be presented effectively, we have learned how to do it. So any questions from anybody?
I'm not sure where I'm going wrong. Actually, it's not showing.
No problem. You can share your screen. Let me have a look.
Can you see it now?
Getting loaded. Yeah.
It's showing me in this one.
Okay. So you have taken order date in the columns. Basically, order date, you take it to the rows.
Okay. Okay.
Now, go to the, yeah, keep the cursor anywhere. No, 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 don't take anything. Don't take anything. Just go to the order date of any month. In column A, keep your cursor in any month. In column A, yeah.
Okay.
Right click, ungroup first. You got your date-wise record. Now, again,
Okay.
right click on any of the date. No, no, no. You are there in, did you right click on the date only? Okay. Then group.
Yes.
Then group.
Okay.
You got your months selected. Along with that, years also you select. The bottom, years.
Okay.
And click OK.
Now that's okay. Okay.
Now again, if you want to create one more hierarchy later state, you can keep the cursor in the any of the year and right click. Same group and select days also. And click OK. Alright.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. So this is how people we have understood how to work around with our date related any kind of informations to be presented at any point of time. We can present our report like this. Now, right click on pivot 8 sheet name. Then move or copy. Create a copy checkbox you can activate and click OK. So one more pivot turns up, you can rename the same as pivot table number 9. Okay. Now here one thing you have to carefully watch. See, When you go for this kind of date fields to deal with, it will generate another two fields. Naming, over here, you could see months and years. This was not earlier there. We had only up to discount, remember? But when we go for date fields to work around and present like this, it will create another two fields like this. So this is again your virtual field. So technically, these are your real field, year and month, not years and months. So if you want to work around with your year-wise record, month-wise record, anything, you should take this field only. Okay. So those things you have to always keep in your mind. This is only you have to take, not this. Fine. Now let us remove the unwanted fields out of this. Like order date, you can remove years, months, bring product descriptions to the rows, and year into the columns. Not the years, year into the column. The first pivot table, whatever we have created. So kindly save all your workbooks. We'll discuss upon the same after a short break. So we'll go for a 10 minutes break. My system it is 3:57. I consider 3 minutes grace. So dot 4:10 p.m. we are going to resume our session. So please have a brisk and come back soon. We'll discuss the rest. So I believe everybody is back. Could you please respond in the chat box? Why for yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I got 4 confirmation. Fine then. So let us go for our next pivot table. What else we can do with regard to pivot we are going to discuss. So one more beautiful concept. Again, I'm going to share with you. Please stay focused first. No need to do anything. So the moment we started our pivot table, I asked you to go through these sheets and we had taken last 3 years data because we had to deal with a lot of features. And any point of time, if this kind of similar situations, there huge data junk is there. And suppose say my boss asked me, Pravas, get me the records related to the year 2016 and that too only Indigo. So my boss is asking, he wants to see the report or records for the year 2016 and the product is Indigo. If that is the case, what we do? We go to first our year, okay, and there 2016. So we'll go for 2016 and then what is that? Indigo. So when I go for Indigo over here, product description, okay, I'll go for Indigo. And then what my boss does, he just select like this over here, the total billing amount. And in the bottom, he will check in the status bar, how much is the total. So like that, whenever there is a change in the variables or parameters or inputs, he will keep on doing the same job, again selecting and seeing the total. This is how people have the regular practice. Do you agree with me? Now, I'm going to take you through one thing over here. I'm just coming out of the data. We have got the pivot table. Same 2016 Indigo, we do have the data in pivot table also. Can you see? Same values there, right? So what we can do, instead of going to the source data, all these things and doing this kind of job of filtering and all, see the beauty. If at all my boss is asking me, Prabhas, get me 2016 related records for the product Indigo. I'll simply go to my pivot table and exactly intersection point of 2016 and Indigo, I'll double click. And when I go for double click, can you see exactly same amount of data is now getting generated in a separate sheet and it is throwing the result instantly on my blink of your eyes. How much time I have taken to do the job? Yes, people, are you getting the feeling what we did exactly and what we received? Yep. Going to a pivot 2016 Indigo. The matching amount, if you go for double click, are you getting this kind of sheet generated on your screen? Please confirm. Yes, no. Now, what have you understood from this exercise? I gave you the complete story, what people are doing or what we have been doing, how to overcome that, how to make some improvements. We discussed all these things. So from this entire exercise, what is the takeaway? The bottom line, one line answer if you want to share, what would be that statement? Anybody?
Is another way to create data virtually or
Okay, another way to create data. Fine. Anybody else?
So if I want to compare data, I just need to find the right intersection and I can get the data immediately.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Best presentation of data, Vijay is saying, fine. I am making my question more precise. Okay. Now, this setup of data, the combination of 2016 and Indigo data, what we have generated, it is created, no doubt. But where this data has come from, is it from pivot 9 or it is from our summary table?
Summary table.
Yeah, summary table. So that's what the takeaway. What is the takeaway? When you create your pivot table, you no need to send your raw data along with the table. Just send the pivot table alone is enough. So the data what we have got it is no more depending upon the source data sheet called summary table. It is generating out of pivot table because pivot holds the data in the backend. That is the takeaway. So you no need to send your raw data, increasing your attachment size and struggling with. Just send the pivot. If at all, at the other end, people demands me, okay, Prabhas, where did you create this pivot table? Where is the source data? I will simply tell him, go and click on this grand total, double click, and immediately the entire 3 years data will be generated over there in another sheet. So this is the source data, nothing else. So even though I delete my summary table data sheet also, none of the pivot table is going to get an impact because each and every pivot table holds the data in the backend. So that's the beauty. Hope it is clear.
Nice, sir. Okay, so I have some more questions
Yeah,
and
please.
doubts on this.
Yes.
So one, let's say we've got one worksheet and I created a pivot table in the same worksheet, so just same workbook. The sheet is different. So now what if, so when you say send yani kaise?
Send in the sense, see.
Could you explain that? क्योंकि मैं अगर शीट पूरा भेजूंगी तो वर्कबुक भेजूंगी पूरा.
वही मैं बता रहा हूँ. देखिए, आपके पास डेटा है. दिस इज योर सोर्स डेटा. ठीक है? Then, okay. Then you prepare a pivot table out of this. ठीक है? Going to insert pivot. We gone for this. And then suppose the same example I'm taking customer wise, last 3 years revenue data over here. Right? Now this is my summary. Suppose I'm making it the list name summary. So when I'm sending this file, I no need to send this data along with this. I can delete
so
this.
I can delete source.
I can delete. Now I've deleted that. Still my pivot is there. Can you see that?
Oh, okay.
Yes. So if at all at the other end, I'm sending this and that person asks me, Prabhas, where did you get this data and how did you create this summary? Where is the source data? I want to see. I can ask him, simply go for double click on the grand total. So again, the same data set will be ready. So 3 years data as it is, complete.
So in other ways, large amount of data can be stored in the form of a pivot table then.
That is why it has been designed.
I don't need to keep that. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Welcome. So this is how people, whenever there is a need, so just so the summary table sheet doesn't have to be in the workbooks. Yes, not necessary. So you can send only the pivot. That alone is enough. You maintain your many more sheet data, whatever it is, you can maintain like this as I'm maintaining. But while sending this, suppose you just copy this pivot table, okay, create a new workbook and paste it. And that alone you save it and send it across to someone. You don't need to disturb your source data. Let it be. Suppose pivot 1 I'm sending to my immediate boss, pivot 2 I'm sending to my global team, or pivot 3 I'm sending it to my management. Suppose let's take an example. So same file I should not disturb, no need to disturb also. So pivot 1, simple copy, paste to new workbook, that workbook you can send it across. The best option, I'll tell you how to manage over here, nothing else. All right. So now coming to pivot 9, right click on the pivot 9 sheet tab, move or copy, create a copy checkbox you can activate and click OK. So now we are going to have one more pivot. You can rename the same as pivot table number 10. Okay. Now friends, why I'm sharing all these things to you? I mean, no need to send the pivot table report. Your pivot is holding the data. Pivot has a temporary memory. Why did I share all these things? Because without knowing these things also, you are able to do your work, right? So how it is going to be a value additions to your knowledge? In pivot 9, whatever we discussed, how it is a value addition to the knowledge of our pivot table. Why did I share with all these things? Any idea?
So not having a summary table in a sheet is definitely going to save the space for the size of the file.
Okay, space and size. Okay, that we saw. Very good. Okay, I will tell you. The reason of sharing the additional information apart from all these things is nothing but when you go and expand your knowledge or enhance your knowledge to the next level. Say, Excel, I am done with Excel. Prabhas, what's next? When you go for the next generation reporting tool called Power BI, there this all these concepts is going to help you. When you go for Power BI and Excel, what is the difference? Let me take you through, since I have initiated the things, let me take you through some more, one more minute and give more concept clarity. Yes, people, what is the difference in these two? Whatever you feel, you can share, no problem.
So my understanding is Power BI is more for dashboards.
Mhm.
And two, it holds a lot more data when compared to Excel.
Mhm.
Plus, it can not just take data from Excel, but it can take data from other sources also
Mhm.
and create dashboards. So
Okay.
हम जैसे charts वगैरह बोलते हैं,
Mhm.
something like that.
Okay. First of all, data storage. If you talk about MS Excel, it stores the data in front end. Front end in the sense interface. जो हमारे Excel sheets, whatever we say, that's our front end. So Excel data को front end में store करता है. But whereas if you go for Power BI, it stores the data in the back end. तो back end कौन काम कर रहा है? To store the data. There are two things. One is Power Pivot, the next concept of pivot table, and the other one is called Power Query. Okay. So these two tools is helping to store the data in the backend. That's why speed, if you talk about Excel, slows down the process. If you have many more data, say more than 1 lakh records, if you there, even though you have a good configured laptop of 32 GB RAM, i10 processor also, that slows down the process. Whereas Power BI, it is giving the instant report. Okay. Now, coming to data input. Hardly you can have 10 variables. You can load the data into from 10 variables to MS Excel. But here you have got 49 different platforms you can load your data and work with. This is called application wise. This is called spreadsheet application. This is called ETL tool. So that is the reason why nowadays, whenever you go any industry, wherever you apply for a job, they ask for Power BI knowledge will be always preferable or adding more advantage. But yes, to learn Power BI, you should be having a thorough knowledge in Excel. So that will be helping you to learn your Power BI better. So this is the reason why all these inputs, whatever I'm sharing about the pivot table or in day one, day two, anything that is going to help in your learning of Power BI. Power BI, when you talk about this, as I told you, these two tools is playing a major role in with regard to your data warehousing or data management. So in the backend, these two tools, if you are thorough with the data transformation, everything, cleansing, everything you can do in the backend and load the data in the format of different types of visualization over there and present it. Now, regarding the data integration, Power BI has got a lot of facility. You can connect your data from SQL, okay, data integration. You can connect to R, you can connect with Python, okay. You can connect with your, say, Agile, okay. So there are a lot of platforms data you can play around. You can create a workspace, you can have your own scripting and you can do it. So this is the reason why nowadays this tool is hotcake in the market and everywhere, wherever you go, people talk about Power BI. That's a great tool. But provided how much knowledge you have in Excel, that is very, very essential. So always base you have to make strong. So without having the fundamental knowledge directly, if you jump over here, somewhere something will be lacking with. Anyway, fine then. So hope you got some basic concepts, basic idea between the difference between, though we have a great tool called Excel, why people prefer to go for Power BI. The reasons are there, right? Clear? Now, coming to the next over here, let's go for a discussion. What else we can do with regard to our pivot table? Let's go for that. So here, suppose I take an example. No need to do anything. Just look at my screen, please. The moment we have initiated this our pivot table discussion, you can notice last 3 years data we had taken. Of course, yes. Now, for the time being, assume that this is of not last 3 years data. This is pertaining to only 1 year. Just assume that. And that entire 1 lakh records of 1 year data, based on this, my boss is asking a simple report. What's the report? Month-wise revenue data he wants to see. So out of 1 year data, just 1 year data we have, and based on that, one simple pivot I need to create month-wise revenue. Okay. So if I want to go for month-wise revenue over here, how will I create it? First of all, unwanted fields, product description, year, remove. We have a field called month. Also months. I told you just half an hour back. Do not ever use this months and years to take it, because these are your virtual field which is created out of the date column. So take your month field, not months, to the row area, and you got your simple report ready. So please confirm your month-wise revenue report is ready. Now, whatever we have created, anybody can do that. Do you think some extraordinary stops is there or any kind of extra information is there? No, anybody can create that. So as I have been always telling you, always give more add-on to the data. So what else we can do to make this information more informative? Are you ready to answer? At least you can share some inputs. Don't worry, though it is wrong, just share. Yes, revenue is there. What is that exactly?
Comparing the month-wise one, say, and the total.
Okay. So you mean to say that revenue percentage? Okay, Yash is also saying,
Yeah.
Hitesh is saying visualization. Okay, no problem. I'm glad you have participated in the discussion. So just to remind you exactly what we did in our day 1, so that you can have the clear picture. So if you remember, in day 1, we did something discussion about data presentation to make our data informative, like month-wise revenue we have gone for revenue percentage, right? When I'm presenting my data to my management, it is needed. So like this, there are various columns we have created, and that will be an add-on to the data. So those things we did it in a normal Excel worksheet or workbook data. So the same thing now we are going to do it in pivot. So how it is going to be different? This is just a repetition of topic because we have learned. Then why you are spending time again over here? Because those things people have the belief that this can be done only with in Excel. If you have the data in normal Excel sheet, you can do that. So when this is expected from pivot, what people they do, they copy this pivot table data and they go to a normal Excel sheet, paste it in a paste special value, and they keep creating this kind of columns. But whereas we are not going to do the same. We'll be working in the pivot table, but we'll do all these operations. So first objective over here, Our data we have prepared, revenue in column is there in billion millions, but we need to prepare revenue in percentage because when you are presenting our data to the management, they are expecting the result to be in percentage. So now how to create it? See the beauty. Just 1 minute, watch my screen, observe what I'm doing carefully, and then next 1 minute I'll be giving time to work with. See, in our value area, already sales USD is there, right? So I'll take sales USD one more time. A new column appears, no problem. I will right click on that column header and I'll be getting an option, show values as. When I go for show values as, there is an option over here, percentage of grand total. So when I go for percentage of grand total with immediate effect, can you see my data percentage is turning up into 100% and the value which was there in numbers, it is also turned into percentage. And I will be renaming the sheet, the column header as revenue percentage. All right. So just check it out. Are you getting the revenue percentage? So first thing first, bring sales USD to the value field area. New column has turned up. Right click on the column header, go for show values as percentage of grand total. All clear? Now, what is the next requirement? If you look at the other day, we discussed how to create this growth column. So month and month data can be compared and can be presented. So that is our next target. So bring sales USD one more time to the value field area. A new column is generated. Right click on the column header, show values as. We have an option called difference from. So when we go for difference from, it will be giving me a dialog box asking, where is your base data? So base field is my month because my first column in the table is month. So I no need to do any changes in this. Now coming to base item. So what is my base item? How did you create the growth column? We have compared the data from previous month. So going to the drop down, we should choose from base item as previous. And once we do the same, click OK. With immediate effect, we'll be getting on information stating called growth. So month on month data can be compared and growth is ready. So this is one more value addition to the data, growth in terms of values. So can you check it out? Confirm. Are you getting the same? Yeah, you can take the sales USD one more time to the value field area. You take that. Then right click on the column header, the newly added column header, show values as. difference from, you will be getting exactly percentage parent total below to that difference from.
Right. Okay.
If you go for it, you will be getting this kind of dialog box. Base field is the month, no need to do any change. Base item, you change it to previous from the drop down. And click OK. Change the column name header to growth.
Work. Thank you.
Yep, welcome. Now, once we have made it, growth in terms of value, maybe my immediate boss would be happy watching the same. That's what we discussed the other day also. So when I'm presenting my data to the management, they are asking or waiting for the report to be growth in terms of percentage. So now the next target is how to create the growth column in terms of percentage. So let's take sales USD one more time to the value field area. And we got a new column. Again, right click on the column header. Show values as, if you go for it, exactly difference from below to that, you will be finding a percentage difference from option is there. And if you go and select that immediately, what's going to happen? Again, the similar dialog box turns up. Base field, yes, it's the month. No need to do any changes. Base item, how did you compare your data from the previous month? So we go and select that. And the moment you go for this, it will turn out your data to be a percentage value. So you can name the field as growth percentage. Hope it is clear, people.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Now the next requirement, if you remember the day one, we discussed about creating the YTD, the cumulative value, YTD and YTD percentage. These two things are the next requirement. So we'll go one by one. YTD. How to create the YTD column in pivot. So we'll take sales USD one more time to the value field area. New column turns up. Right click on the column header. Show values as, if you see exactly percentage difference from below to that, running total in, one option is there. I will take this, running total in. And it will be demanding a box again, base field. What is the base field? Is the month. Yes, no need to do any changes. Now click OK. So we got our data over here in terms of cumulative fashion. But I told you how to confirm whether the YTD column is the right track. When you see the December month YTD, is it matching with my total revenue? Yes. So we are in the right track, not a problem. Okay. So this is how we have got one more value additions to the work is called naming YTD. So please confirm you got your YTD.
Yes.
Now, the next requirement is, as I told you, YTD percentage, because when I'm presenting my data to the management, they are looking for YTD, but in terms of percentage. So we can take this again, sales USD one more time to the value field area. A new column turns up, right click on the column header, show values as. Exactly below to running total in, we have an option, percentage running total in. Yes, no problem, Jay. Noted, no problem. You can take rest well. You can follow the recording when you are ideal. Yeah. So percentage running total in. When you go for this over here, then it will ask me again, what is the data? Data is on month column only, no problem. So go and click OK. So immediately you'll be finding another column ready naming YTD percentage. And if you read out this December month YTD percentage, is it matching with the revenue percentage column total? Yes, we are in the right track. So this is how we created one more column stating YTD percentage. Okay. So just imagine this is what, I mean, maximum two columns we are anticipating. We can create and present it, but this much of task is pending. So where is the thing over here? People will be really happy watching the same because of all these extra additional factors, the columns. Because people believe all these things it's possible only in normal Excel sheet data, but we made it possible in pivot table. And trust me, when you present like this, somebody from the presentation is definitely going to watch. Have you created something, all these things in the source data sheet anywhere? There is no such kind of column in the source data sheet. This is purely created from pivot table only. So definitely somebody is going to ask a question also. How did you create all these fields in pivot? That's what we want. People should ask us. Well, people, please confirm. All of you have got this. Any doubt, any queries? Well, so pivot table number 10 is over. Let's go to our next. So right click on pivot 10 sheet name. Excuse me. Then move or copy. Create a copy. Checkbox you can activate and click OK. So one more pivot turns up. You can rename the same as pivot 11. And so many fields are there in pivot 11, right? So let us remove the unwanted fields out of that. So how to remove the unwanted fields? So many fields are there in the value area. We cannot remove all the fields at once. We have to do it one by one, but that will be a tedious process. So I'll tell you the best technique, how to remove all the fields at once from the value area. See, don't do anything in the value areas. Go to the columns area. If you see in column section, there is a sigma values one field is there in columns. That alone you remove it. You can bring it back to the field list box and see the beauty. The entire value area will be cleaned. So this is the best way to clean out the data. Now, unwanted, like month, you can remove. Then bring sales USD to the values, the first pivot table, product description to the rows, year into the columns. Now, we are going to discuss again one more beautiful concept of pivot is called dashboard. So now we are going to discuss how to design, how to create a dashboard in pivot table. You would have heard this terminology quite often in the corporate world while working. When you take bunch of files and trying to present to someone, say your boss, if you present it, he gets annoyed and tell, what do you believe? I have got whole day to go through all your files to understand what you have prepared. So here, again the demand, why don't you create a dashboard? When I present so many information to our customer or client or vendor or stakeholders, they don't like watching our presentation. They also expect a one-pager report. Whenever we are discussing in the teammates, our one of the teammates also they say, hey, I have created a very beautiful dashboard. So what is that exactly? The dashboard meaning? The dashboard meaning is nothing but, friends, it's a single page window report. So entire information will be there in one window report or one pager report, you can call it. So technically, these are the dashboards. If you talk about it, consists of three elements. One, there should be a drop down which will be containing the privileges or containing the variables or the options for the user to select. Then the user, whenever he selects a particular variable, automatically based on that, a tabular information would be there. And based on the tabular information, there should be a charts and graphs. And when you have all these three elements in place, that can be called as a dashboard. So I'll take you through some dashboards which will be giving more clarity, more idea, and what we are up to, what we are going to achieve. You'll be getting a complete information. So no need to do anything. Next 5 minutes, just watch my screen, what I am sharing with you. Say, I'm going to take you through some dashboards, some sophisticated dashboards over here. Say, take an example over here, dashboards. Okay, I'll take you through first one Excel dashboards for the HR department. Okay, now in this, so this is called one of the sophisticated dashboard for one organization we have created. Okay, now I'll tell you all the elements. So here, if you see all these department names in one list, below to that, the company they have got multi-city presence. It is there over here. Now, suppose say this is what the last 9 years data we are taking and dealing with the same. So all these 9 years purpose 9 years data is there. And these are the list of employee names, which is there already in our organization that is also listed. And based on this different charts type or graphs, pie, line, column, bar, everything. And some tabular data also it is available over here. You can see. Okay. Now see the beauty. When I go for this dashboard, if I want to know last 9 years, how is the headcount trend for HR department? So when I go and select HR out of this chart is going to reflect. Just see, if I select HR, is it changing? Yes. Now, if I want to know in HR department, Los Angeles City, what is the headcount trend? So this chart is going to change when I select that. So human resource, Los Angeles, is it changing? Yes. Now, if I want to know in HR department, Los Angeles City, during the year 2006, how was the salary distribution? So this is going to be changed. And based on this, what is going to happen? This chart and this chart is going to change. So human resource, Los Angeles, 2006. Is it changing? Yes. So everything is happening. One end I'm operating, the other end complete control I'm having on over here. Output is swing accordingly. So this is called your sophisticated dashboard. This needs time. It's not like something put the formula, get the answer. You have to invest your time to create something like this. But trust me, that is just only one time investment. And rest of the time, only thing is you have to keep updating your records. And if you create something like this, that will be definitely an asset to the company. Trust me, people pay for this. People pay a hefty amount to create such kind of dashboards. They get it outsourced or they get it created by someone else. But when you create, forget about this, at least more or less something like this, definitely that is going to be an asset, isn't it? And to create this kind of dashboards, of course, we should have 9 years data. It's not a joke. We should have that. Then only we can play around, isn't it? Then 90% calculations are as our pivot table calculations only. Nothing new, nothing extraordinary over here. Then to create some ready-made list over here, or whenever there is a need to update the records, I should have a Excel sheet where I can keep adding the records and that output will be reflecting in that dashboards. So this is called one of your sophisticated dashboard from HR department. Now, I'm going to take you through one more report or dashboard related to sales. Now, see the beauty. This is again one page of report. Different types of charts and graphs are there. Sales trend is also showing over here. Below to that, we have got month-wise products, sales representative names, and the different regions where we are operating with. Now, suppose say I want to see what is the status of Eastern Zone. So I'll go and just click East over here. Immediately, all the Eastern related information will be available here. Now, if I want to know in Eastern Zone, what is the performance of our sales representative naming over here called Jenny Paul. So I'll go and click Jenny Paul. This is what the status of Jenny Paul. So everything is happening dynamic way on a click of button. So that's what is called your again dashboard. So more or less, we are going to create something like this now. Well, so hope you got some idea, some clarity. What is this dashboard? What you're going to achieve? Is it going to help you?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Are you interested in learning the same?
Yes.
Great. So let us go and learn how to create a dashboard in Pivot. Okay. So there are certain rules you need to follow when you go and create a dashboard, people. Rule number one, whatever the objects you are taking to create a dashboard, it should be pinpoint aligned properly. So alignments has to be uniform. You have to be a bit careful about that. So that is the first rule. Now, rule number two, whenever you are using the color combinations, you must use some high definition colorful buttons, which will be adding more beauty. Not the entire interface to be making some kind of colorful rainbow color options, but yes, some buttons you should use a high definition colorful buttons that will be adding more beauty. Having said this, first let's go and create our interface. Keep your cursor above to the pivot data and insert a row. How to insert a row? Alt I R, and to repeat the last action, F4. So create some 10 to 15 blank row items above to the pivot. Later, if you do not want, we can delete, not an issue. But first you create. Now, Once you created the same, keep your cursor anywhere in pivot. Okay. Then go to your analyze or pivot table analyze. We have an option insert slicer. So if you remember day 2, we have seen a glimpse of that data sorting that sheet, department wise, salary, and all those things we discussed, right? So now we are going to discuss in depth on this. So go for insert slicer. So this kind of dialog box will appear. No problem. So now we are going to work with this. So slicers are nothing but filter buttons. Whatever the operation we do with filter, the same thing we can do with slicers. But only advantage is these are the visual filter buttons. Like you can see all the filter buttons on the screen. And later, if you do not want, we can delete also. That is what the beauty. Now, the moment you are thinking to work with your slicer or you want to integrate slicer with pivot, you have to follow a rule. What is the rule says? Whatever the fields you have taken in pivot. So please check it out. What are the fields we have taken in pivot? Year, product description, and sales USD, right? All these three fields you should not choose again from the slicers because there is no value addition. It is just amounting as a duplication of fields. So apart from all these three fields, anything else you want to work with, say, I want to see my customer wise data, you can select. I want to see my salesman wise record, you can select that also. I want to see my region wise data, that also I have selected. I want to see my month wise record, not months, month. And check it out what I'm saying. Just cross check on your screen. Have you selected the same? Customer, salesperson, region, month. Is it selected? We'll go step by step confirmation, people. If at all anything is missing, then and there, please stop me. Do not wait till I complete the things, then you ask me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The moment we click OK, people, you will be finding 4 boxes are ready. So now only thing is we need to take those boxes and we need to arrange in the space above to the pivot. So suppose say I took my month over here as a first slicer. Then I will take over here as a sales person. Then I'll take region and then I'll take the customer. So you can have your own order. There is no hard and fast rule. It is up to you. Now, once you have done with this, though we have got beautiful slices over here, but the slices look and feel is not so great. So now we have to do some cosmetics works of our slices. But how to do it? Just have a look. If I select a slicer by the slicer name, don't click inside anywhere. Whenever you want to select a slicer, just choose by slicer name. And when I select that, there is an extreme right tab is activated. What is that? It's called slicer tools or options. Depends upon the version of Excel. We have an option over here, slicer styles. So when I go for the more style over here, it opens up with 2 broad categories. Okay. So light and dark. And I told you in the case of format as table, always go for light or medium. And here there is no medium. So which one you should take it? Of course, we'll be taking the dark one. The reason?
Can you please, sir, can you please repeat? Adding colors.
I have not yet added the colors. We have selected a slicer, going to slicer tab, extreme right. Did you receive such kind of tab?
Okay.
And then in that slicer styles. And then when you go for it, it opens up with two broad categories, light and dark. So here there is no medium, but we are working with our dashboard. I told you you should must have the high definition colorful buttons, which will be adding more beauty. So in that case, what you can do, use the dark options. So go for this one dark color, one more dark color. Then I'll take one more. So please confirm you able to change the respective slices colors. Now, though we have made colorful changes, people, but having this kind of vertical scroll bars, these slicers are not giving great look. So we need to remove the same. So how to remove these vertical scroll bars? See the beauty. First 1 minute, watch my screen. If I select a slicer, you will be finding over here in the slicer tab, there's an option. What is that? The columns. So by default, the columns is saying all the time one only. So we can change it one to something else. So just by increasing the column numbers. So if I go and increase the column numbers, automatically it will start distributing to multiple columns. And once you distribute it, what happens? The font size is not now not in a readable format. The fonts are not in readable format. So what you can do, just extend the width. All right, people. Similarly, go for region, make it to 4 or 3, depends. Salesperson, I'll make it 3. Month, I'll make it 3. Hope it is working, people.
Yes.
So now, once you have made all these changes over here, now what you need to do, I'm working with full screen. Anybody is having any issue, please unmute and speak because chat box window is now visible to me. I'm working with full screen. Okay. So now, once I have made it over here, then select one of the slicer and Control A. Select one of the slicer and Control A. then all the slicers would be in selection. So first thing first, what you need to do is going to the slicer tab in the ribbon, we have an option called align. I told you alignment plays a very big role in our dashboards. So going to align over here, first you choose align top. Then on the top margin, all the slicers will be aligned properly with the equal interval, whatever it is. Then again go to align with the same selection. We have an option distribute horizontally. And why distribute horizontal is necessary? Because between the slicers, whatever the spacing, that also to be uniform. For that reason, go for distribute horizontally. All right. Now, the final step. What it happens, the moment we have done all these changes, there are a lot of empty spaces. It is created just exactly below to each and every slicer. Now, having the selection of the slicers like this, go to any of these slicers, the bottom side, and hold that button which is there, hold that button and decrease the height. But while decreasing the height, ensure that you are not regaining the status of the vertical scroll bar. That is what you have to be careful. And then the final step, next to align in the slicer tab, one grouping option is there, grouping. And in this, you can go for the group option so that it will turn into a single object. This is very, very essential. The last step, converting the entire selected object into a single object. Because if you do not do so, tomorrow while you start working with your slicers and pivot table, it will overlap, it will distribute. So that is going to destroy the entire efforts or the presentations what you have made. Okay. So up to this, everybody is clear what we did. Any doubt, any queries, or anybody needs my support or not getting such kind of visuals options?
So one question. While formatting these slicers, जब हमने height कम करी, we dragged it and we reduced the height.
Right.
Is there an option for auto height?
No. You cannot do that auto height. You can set uniform height to for everyone. Suppose say I have got 5 slices. I can select, I can make the height of 5 centimeters each. That I can do. So those things available in the same slicer extreme right. If you see height, width, or all these things will be there.
Okay.
So if I go for ungrouping the same now, I'm doing the ungrouping first. And select all the slicers. Can you see in the slicer tab, some height and width, you can make it as uniform height and width that you can customize from this point.
Okay.
That's
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Now, once I group this between the slicers and pivot table, whatever the blank space is there, the row items are there that you can select and delete. How? Control minus. Entire row. Then, when you go for entire row and click OK, all these unwanted row items will be deleted. Now keep your cursor in the pivot. This pivot table fields, which is there in the right side, this doesn't play any more role over here. You can deactivate that. But how to deactivate? See, you can see there is a cross button over here. You can take that. It will be deactivated. Else, in the pivot table itself, if you right click, there will be option called hide field list. So whichever it is comfortable for you, you can do that. So slicers is ready, pivot table is ready. Now keep your cursor in the pivot table grand total column any cell and go for right click upon the same, sort largest to smallest. Next, once you made these things ready, people, next what we need to do, as we discussed, there are three elements needed for a dashboard. So two is ready. Now next three things is the charts and graphs. So keep your cursor in pivot anywhere and then go to our pivot table analyze or analyze tab. And there we have an option called pivot chart. And when you go for pivot chart, it will take you to your entire chart family. No need to do any changes. Click OK. So you'll be getting a clustered column chart immediately ready. No problem. Now that chart you can select and align that next to the data in this format and extend the chart exactly in line with the alignment of your slicer. And the beauty of pivot chart is you can see some ready-made filter buttons inside the chart area. One is your products. You see product description, one filter, and one filter is also year. So this kind of ready-made filter buttons you will never get in the generic course of action or the general charts. It is an exclusive pivot chart, then only it will be available. So we got our slicer ready, pivot table ready, pivot chart ready. Any doubt, any queries? Now, what's next? Please stay focused. See, whenever you have the chart in place, select the chart, you'll be finding one design button is activated in the ribbon. So going to design, you'll be finding lot many styles are there over here. Styles are there, right? This is the chart styles over here. Now go to the style, more style, and take the last one. Why the last one? Because compared to other versions or the other styles, the last one is better. It will be giving some kind of glossy impact, some kind of intense effect or shadow impact with regard to the chart, and that will be making your chart better. So let's go for the last one blindly. This is the first thing you should do. Next, selecting the chart. If you see on your chart, there is unwanted grid lines are available. That is making my chart presentation messy. So how to remove these unwanted grid lines? You can notice when you select a chart, there is one plus symbol available next to the chart in the right side or left side, depending upon the space what you have on your screen. And if you go to that plus symbol and click it, it will take you to a pop-up menu where a grid lines checkbox is there. So this grid line checkbox needs to be deactivated. And once you click again plus symbol, this will be ready. So these are the minimum formatting techniques you need to follow for the charts as well. Okay. Now, so far, whatever we did, anybody can do. All these features, if he's aware of also, he also can do. There is nothing great things over here, right? But now the time has come, as I have been always emphasizing upon, how to make our presentation different from others. Stay focused. First of all, keep your cursor in a blank cell anywhere in the Excel sheet and remove the unwanted stuffs. Like what is the unwanted? This ribbon bar. This is unwanted. So how to remove this ribbon bar? We cannot delete it. We can hide only. So how to hide it? Control F1. So when you go for Control F1, the ribbon bar will be hidden. It's a toggle key. Again, to bring it back, you can use Control F1. So Control F1 to hide and unhide as well. Check. Is it working, people? Control F1 to hide the ribbon or unhide. If it is not a direct key F1, you should use function Control F1. All right. Next thing over here, keeping the cursor anywhere in the blank cell. If you go to the View tab, there are certain things over here in the View tab. There is a Show category, three options: formula bar, grid lines, headings. All these things are activated. You need to deactivate all these three. So View, deactivate headings, grid lines, formula bar. Now look at your own screen. What kind of feeling you are getting? As if a blank page is there and entire template is embedded on that. Can you see that? Are you getting that kind of feeling? Now, the most important point. Being a presenter, always remember one thing, friends. Never ever show many more information to the audience. The more the information you show, the more the questions you are going to invite. And you don't have the whole day to present it. Hardly you'll be getting 5 to 10 minutes in the meeting to showcase your data or to make your presentation. And in that 10 minutes, you have to complete your presentation. You have to welcome the questions. You have to answer them. And at the end of the presentation, also, you have to give your own interpretation or feedback. So all these things purpose you have to do your homework properly. Time allocation, time management is very, very essential. So unwanted stuffs definitely we must avoid. But the question is how to do that. You would have thought something when I said all these things. So you would have had some plan in the mind. What can be done? You can share your ideas, right, people? I showed you exercise, all those things I told you. What is the risk factor I told you also. Then you would have thought something upon that, right? जो भी आपने सोचा, you can share, no problem. We are here to rectify. In the training only you can commit the mistakes. What can be done? We can hide all these sheets. That can be done. Yeah. But when I am going for hiding, at least I have to keep this pivot 11 sheet open. That cannot be hidden because that is what my core business area, isn't it? So if I hide all these sheets, take an example, I have hidden. Now just watch my screen for a while. I am doing my operation, and while operating and showing something, accidentally my right click of the mouse is on. So what will be happening? The unhide option will be definitely activated. If something is hidden, this will be activated. And audience is smart enough to understand if unhide is active means something is hidden. Now suppose say in front of me in the meeting room, my vice president is sitting and he is asking me, Pravas, why don't you go to that unhide option? So can I say no? Can I say something in return, sir? Whatever you are looking for, this is there in this sheet pivot 11. Why you are asking unwanted questions? Can I say something like that to my management people or the superiors in the meeting room?
No.
Then what is the point? We are hiding our sheets, but a simple right click is enabling the unhide option. Doesn't make any sense. So it will be more helpful only if when you hide in such a way, nobody can unhide that. It will not be visible at all. Nobody will be ever knowing that how many sheets is open, how many sheets is visible, or how many sheets are hidden over here. That going to make sense. What to say? Right?
Yes.
So that is what we are going to do now. So we are not going to allow people to read all these things. We are going to deactivate the entire sheet tabs. No hiding and unhiding. We are going to remove the entire sheet tabs. How? See the beauty. Start working with me. Go to file, go to the file menu, and we have a options. If you go to the options tab over here, it will take you to the Excel options dialog box where you will be finding a category called advanced. And when you go for this advanced category, you will be finding over here a dialog box. Scrolling bar option is also available. Yep. So that scroll bar, when you take it to the middle somewhere up to somewhere you reach to the middle, you'll be finding a section called display. And exactly below to display, you'll be finding a subsection called display options for this workbook. And in this, the third option, it deals with show sheet tabs. Option is on. You need to make it off, or you can switch off that checkbox. And the moment you click OK, with immediate effect, you are going to get all the sheets deactivated. So what we have to do, I told you, first you go to file, then you go for our option. So going to file, Excel options will come, and then you have to select advanced. Then you have to scroll a little bit somewhere in the middle. You'll be getting a section called display, and there is a subsection called display options. This workbook and show sheet tabs that you have to deactivate. And then finally click OK. All right. Now, once we have made it, see the beauty? All these things are hidden. Can anybody know that? How many sheets we are operating, which sheet is having our data, where is the workings, and where is the source data? Nobody will be knowing except us. So this is how people, you are supposed to control all these objects of your interface. Any doubt, any queries so far? Now, once things are ready, just watch my screen for a minute. Over here, suppose I have made all these things, presentations, everything. My boss asked me, Prabhas, are you ready? Shall we go to the presentation area? I said, yes. So he has greeted all our global leaders, and then finally he asked me, Prabhas, please start the show. So when I opened the file, my boss immediately said first thing that Prabhas, we are not interested watching last 3 years data as such. Just show us only 2016. So I'll go to my chart filter. I will go for year filter over here, and I'll show only 2016 out of this. So immediately this is my 2016 data. Okay. So anybody who wants to make out by reading the data, they have got the pivot table with them. And anybody who wants to make out instantly information like from which product we made the maximum revenue from Genex Nano, which product the least revenue from Sumo Gold. Now, when I presented this next to my boss, suppose my chief marketing officer is sitting. So his focus has gone to his people. So he asked me, Prabhas, if this is the history of 2016, can you please show me the performance of Salesman 5 for the year? So Salesman is one of my slicer. I choose SM5. If I click, automatically this is the data of Salesman 5 for the year 2016. If I click, okay. Now, looking at the same, he kept quiet for a while and immediately he asked one more question. If this is the history of 2016 of Salesman 5, can you please show me his performance for the month of May? Yes, month one slicer is there. I can go and click May. So immediately it is showing the result. Only one product he has sold, that is Hexa. To whom? To Tuli Motors is the customer. Which country is the Africa? So can you see everything is happening on a click of button. We are not navigating from one sheet to other, one file to other. Only in one sheet we are working. So this is how whenever you go and operate integrating your pivot table, slicers and pivot chart, that is going to be your dashboard. So just check it out. Is it working on your respective screens?
Okay.
So any questions from anybody? Whatever we have done so far, is it clear? So techniques remains the same. You have to take your live data and keep working with that. And trust me, when you present like this, anybody, whoever is watching your presentation, they are definitely going to appreciate your work. All right. Now, once it is done, how to restore our data complete. So whatever the things we have deactivated, one by one, we have to activate. So now, first thing is, whenever we are operating with the slicer, you could see in the slicer's top right corner, there is an option called clear filter. You have to keep clicking that. So automatically the slicers will start restoring the data. Similarly, if I go to my charts, this filter, I have to clean it. Okay. Now, what are the things we have deactivated? Like the sheet tabs, same option. Going to file, options, advanced, scroll down in the display section, display options for this workbook. Show sheet tabs. You need to activate. right? The same option as we discussed. You have to go and activate the same. Then click OK. Now, what are the other things to be activated? Can somebody recall?
Formula bar, headings,
Right.
and grid lines.
Where do we have that?
In view column.
Right. So keeping the cursor in a blank cell, go to the View tab. We have got three options like formula bar, headings, and grid lines. All these three things to be activated. Now, if you want to activate your ribbon menu, same option, the keyboard shortcut, Control F1. Okay, as I told you. Right. So how to create our dashboard in Pivot 11, we have discussed about it. So taking the live data, keep practicing people, definitely you can make the things better. But here, one thing I would like to share, sometimes what it happens, this kind of presentations, when you do it, some people will be objecting for something. What is that? Their objection point will be nothing. Rest of things are okay. They will be objecting for this pivot table alone. They will say, Pravas, everything is fine. The charts, these buttons looks great, no problem. But these numbers are boring. Why don't you remove all these things? So that's the problematic area. You cannot remove the pivot table because that is the core business and everything is related or linked to the pivot table only. So in that case, how to manage the show? Don't do in front of them anything. Trust me, what you need to do, if they say like this, they demand like this, just turn the screen towards you and take this chart and cover this data in the charts. Okay, and extend it like this format. That's it. Any particular customer's data, suppose say audience wants Lexus Motors. I click, all the data for Lexus Motors is ready. Lexus Motors, I want to see only 2016. I'll go for Lexus Motor year 2016. If I want to see Lexus Motor 2016 only, how much we have made from Belgium. So I'll go and click Belgium. This is what the data from Belgium. See, everything is happening on the click up button, but nobody will be knowing the data is beneath this chart and you are working. So that is how you should manage the show instantly, immediately at any point of time. Don't spend time for recreating the entire process. And again, there is a question mark about your productivity because it's not a job. I mean, there are a lot of efforts is being made over here. So simply just a remove, add this, remove this, it's not going to make sense. You have to again spend a lot of time. So this is how better you manage the show. All right, pivot 11. Any doubt, any queries in pivot 11, people? Excuse me.
Sir, Katisha here. I'm just curious. Are these options also available in Google Sheets?
No, no, not so extensively, but yes, up to some extent.
So some charts or some slicers are possible.
Yes, that is there. That is there, but not with such kind of Microsoft Office. Excel has the flavor. Same flavor, you cannot get it as it is. Only 30% of the entire discussion what we had, you can get it in Google Sheets.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Sir, if I want to paste this dashboard on the mail body, then I have to use snipping tools or any other option.
No, no, no. Snipping tool is the better option, or the print screen. Like if you go for this entire thing, like you can go for print screen over here. You can go to your mail, and that you can do. So whenever you go for new mail, and then like this. So those things, if you want to crop, you can do that cropping and all those things, that is there. So this is the best way to do. Snipping tool, again, any specific area alone you want to give it, that you can do it with snipping tool or snipping off. Now go to pivot table number 10. Right click on pivot 10 sheet tab, move or copy, create a copy checkbox you can activate, and click OK. So one more pivot turns up, you can rename the same as pivot table number 12. Now right click on pivot table, show field list. If it is not displayed this pivot table fields, right click on pivot, show field list, and remove the unwanted fields. I told you how to remove all the fields at once. Going to column and remove this value area. Then deactivate month. Now create the first pivot table, whatever we had. So what is the first pivot table? Like product description in the rows, sales USD in the values, year, not years again, year to the columns. So please confirm you got your first pivot table ready in pivot table number 12. Then we discuss. Yes, Vijaya, that in columns area, you had one sigma values, one field, that alone you remove it, drag it back. Then deactivate month. Then bring product description to the rows, year to the columns, sales USD to the values. All right. Now, again, we are going to discuss one more beautiful concept of pivot. So please stay focused. See, since afternoon, the moment we started our training from 2 o'clock till now, whatever we discussed, we have worked only with one pivot table with each and every individual sheet. So if you see, a unique pivot table is there in a particular worksheet. So around 12 we are talking about. So 11 worksheets already there, 11 different pivot tables we have. Do you agree?
Yes.
Right. So now we are going to discuss in a particular worksheet, if I have got more than one pivot table, if I have got multiple pivot table, how to work around with that. Okay. So whenever you want to showcase multiple information in one worksheet, how to present it effectively, that we are going to discuss. Very beautiful concept, stay focused. So first of all, we do some arrangements of our data. Take an example. Over here, we have got our first database over here. Select this pivot table completely, copy that. Leaving one or two rows down, paste it. Leaving one or two rows down, paste it. Now, though we have copied and pasted, but technically these are two different pivot table. Yes, information is same, but pivot table are unique. How? If you remember, I told you the moment we started our first pivot table, I told you each and every pivot table, they have a unique name. So to prove that these two pivot tables, though we copied and pasted, but it is unique pivot table, I'll tell you something. See, in my first pivot table, if I keep my cursor and go for right click, pivot table options, one option is there. And if I take that, it takes me to a dialog box where you could see it is showing me a pivot table name. Okay. So my first pivot table name is pivot table 1. It may differ from case to case. For you, it might be 2 if you have deleted some pivot tables while in the earlier state. Maybe name would be different. Just see that name. And now go and do the same procedure for the pivot table which is below. Right click, pivot table options. Are you getting a different name for that? Right? So here itself, it is proved these are two different pivot tables. Now, having the different pivot table, it's okay, but the same information doesn't make any sense. So let's go to the second one, which is below. And instead of showing the product wise last 3 years revenue data, so deactivate product, we are going to show customer wise last 3 years revenue data. Okay, select customers, bring it to rows. So you can notice one pivot having the product wise last 3 years data, the other one customer wise last 3 years data. No problem. Now, once I made it, then this pivot table fields dialog box is no more playing a role. We can deactivate that. And then first pivot table, keep your cursor, go to pivot table analyze or analyze tab, then pivot chart. You can click on this and then click OK. So one chart is ready. That one, exactly, put it in the alignment of the data, leave some space in between. I have my own reasons, I'll tell you, and extend the chart like this. Okay. Now do your necessary arrangements of the formatting as I stated earlier. First, you take the last tile from the design tab, then go for plus symbol to remove the grid lines. All these things we know. Then go to the below pivot table. Again, same analyze or pivot table analyze pivot chart. So we have got two pivot tables now over here and two pivot charts also in place. All right. So please confirm you got your two pivot tables ready, two pivot charts ready. Now, what you need to do, go to the first pivot table. Okay, keep your cursor. Go to pivot table, analyze or analyze anything, whatever it comes in your version. Go for insert slicer. And now choose the slicer of region. Suppose I want to see the region wise data. Okay, I have selected region and clicked OK. So a slicer is immediately ready, no doubt. Okay, so I'm extending from the bottom side a bit. Now I'll do a little bit this kind of fabrication over here. Suppose I take an example slicer over here. I'll add this. So you got your slicer ready. Now, just 1 minute, watch my screen. When I go and operate from this slicer, what is happening? If I want to see the Thailand data or UK data, it is giving an impact only to the first pivot table. So my below pivot table and charts, everything, it seems completely static and idle, it's freezed. So I don't want to give such kind of feeling. So what can be done? Let's see. So I'll go for first sorting my data from the grand total of both the pivot tables to give you a proper story. Okay. Now what I can do, I can go to my slicer over here. I will keep my cursor in the slicer name. I'll go for right click upon the same. And when I go for right click on that, you will be getting an option called report connections. What is that? Report connections like this. And if I go for report connections, it will take me to a dialog box where you see exactly which pivot table is connected to that slicer. That checkbox alone is in selection. And below to that, exactly below to that, whichever the pivot table is nothing but our pivot table, which is below. So that checkbox is not activated. You can activate it. So this is how a particular slicer, if you want to connect to multiple pivot table also, you can do that. Okay. Now, once you have done this and clicked OK, see the beauty. If I go and want to see what is the status from Russia, so I'll click everything. This is what all the products sold to Russia in 2016 only. There was no business. And these are the customers from Russia. This is what the status. If I want to see the report of UK, this is what the UK report. If I want to see Belgium data, this is what Belgium data. If you want to see Argentina, this is what Argentine data. See, on a click of button, everything is happening. Both the pivot table, both the charts, everything is working together. And if you restore them, then if you go for clear filter, it's all restored. Okay, so this is how people, whenever there is a need, this all these options again for dashboards and all those things, templates of you create summary reports and presenting, this is very, very helpful to you because people know one pivot table can be connected with one slicer, but how to connect with multiple pivot tables, one slicer, there is the beauty. So this is the place where you are making yourself different. So please confirm this is working. Anybody needs my support or any questions? If you have, you can ask me. All right, friends. So this is it from our day 3 site. Any doubt, any queries for the day? So how is your feeling? Was it informative? Whatever we learned or discussed today?
Yes, it was helpful.
Yep. So taking the live data, keep practicing, people. Yes. Any questions from anybody?
Can we put the values above the Pareto bars?
Data labels, you mean to say?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that you can do. Definitely you can do that. That we are going to learn in the chart section tomorrow. So don't worry about it. Yes, you can put the values. So tomorrow's agenda will be, people, we'll be discussing. First, we'll start with our formula and functions, whatever left over from the day 2. That is how to enhance our skills to the next level of our lookup functions. We have discussed, HLOOKUP we have discussed, but we'll be giving more add-on to data like VLOOKUP with approximate match, reverse VLOOKUP, multi-criteria lookup. All these things we are going to discuss tomorrow. Along with that, some logical functions, nested if functions, dashboard more functions, and then we'll be discussing charts and graphs. So various types of charts and how to take the right selection of the charts depending upon the data, and what will be the ideal way of presenting our chart story. All these things tomorrow we are going to discuss. So any doubts or queries related to that also, you can bring it to notice of mine and we'll be discussing in the session. Don't worry. So any questions from anybody on today?